Hello everybody, I'm Taka, and before we start I've got a quick question for you. Do you play or have you ever played Pokemon? Let me know in the comments. Well, just like many Americans, I was also a big fan of the franchise. In fact, being Japanese, I had the privilege to get to know it before the rest of the world and to witness the cultural evolution. Every kid played the video games or were trading cards in school playgrounds. There was also board games like a special Monopoly version, and of course we all cried watching the movie. Now, the pandemic got a lot of people of my generation very nostalgic, and so I wanted to share that passion with you while taking the opportunity, as usual, to teach you Japanese. So here are my most precious cards. For the record, they only exist in Japanese. And back then in 1998, they all came with a promotional music CD that costed 3,000 yen, which is about $20 US. But what I particularly like about them is the fact that the pictures of these Pokemon by Sugimori Sensei are precisely the ones used for the original Nintendo games. As a matter of fact, when these cards were distributed in Japan, the cartridges were just introduced in North America. Yeah, I know, the PSA casing of my Charizard and Venusaur should be updated, but I'm in no rush, especially knowing how long it takes to get cards certified by the grading company. Besides, I already know that they're almost perfect with a mint condition of 9 out of 10, so I'm all good. That was the historical background, and even though not all Japanese people are nerds like me, I think there is still a cultural tendency of wanting to know everything on a subject you're passionate about. So, let's start with the most popular one, Charizard. His Japanese name is Lizardon. 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 It's actually a play on words with the English lizard and dragon. There are traditional Japanese words for both. For instance, lizard is tokage, 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 and dragon is ryu. Ryu. But the more you'll learn the language, the more you'll find anglicisms, especially in video games and anime, because it sounds cooler to Japanese ears. Now, Ryu is the pronunciation originally imported from the Chinese long. In Japanese, we call that way of reading onyomi, onyomi, onyomi. And the traditionally Japanese way of reading is called kunyomi, kunyomi, kunyomi. In Japanese, there are different Chinese characters or kanji to write dragon. But I've already changed the subject enough. I'll just add that Doragon, being imported from Western languages, would be more associated with the European dragons with wings and spitting fire. Whereas Ryu, being imported from China, would be more associated with the one that looks more like a snake with tiny legs, a beard, and thorns. But for some reason, Dragon Ball is called that way even if Shenron looks like a Chinese dragon. So you can definitely use all the words interchangeably. But back to the topic, Charizard is called Lizardon and not Tokage-ryu. But it's not the case for all Pokemon. Take Venusaur, which in English is also a play on words with Venus and dinosaur. I honestly don't understand because Venus is supposed to be the goddess of love, seduction, and beauty. I mean, have you seen the Pokemon before naming it? But anyway, it's too late now. In Japanese, the original name is Fushigibana. Fushigibana. Fushigibana, which can either mean strange flower or extraordinary flower. And here it's funny because it is Japanese and so it could be written with kanji, but they read it with katakana to make it look like it's foreign. It's also interesting because the last Pokemon of the trio is actually a mix of Japanese and English. Indeed, Blastoise in Japanese is called Kameksu. 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 Kame is the Japanese word for turtle, and ksu is from max, from maximum. Or I've heard some people say that it's from mechanics. Out of the three, it's actually my favorite. The name is epic in Japanese, English, and also apparently French, right, Julien? Absolutely. In French, Blastoise is tortank. Tortank, which is a portmanteau of the words tortue, which means turtle, and tank. Turtle tank. By the way, portmanteau is also a French word that literally means a coat hanger. Okay, thank you. You can explain other French stuff in your videos. But yeah, Blastoise or Kameksu is my favorite because not only is it Charizard's weakness, but also a lot of people underestimate the power of water. Did you know that there were water jet machines that can pretty much cut through anything? I don't know if that convinced you, but let's move on. So, the only Roman alphabet you'll see are LV for level, HP for health points. Some people say it's hit points, but it doesn't really make sense if you think about it. If you haven't been hit yet, why would you have hit points? Surprisingly, the last thing you'll see in Latin alphabet is the name of the artist, written in Western style, with the first name before the last name. It's almost as if they didn't want Japanese people to know who drew the picture. At the very top above Charmeleon, you'll see 2 Shinka, ni Shinka, ni Shinka, which means second evolution. Lizardo kara Shinka. Lizardo kara Shinka. Evolution from Charmeleon. So Charmeleon is Lizardo. It's pretty much lizard. Then below the picture it says Kaen Pokemon. Kaen Pokemon. Kaen Pokemon. Kaen means flame, so it's a fire Pokemon. But it's funny because it's written in hiragana. One could think that it's to make it easier for kids to read, but I see more complicated kanji around, so I don't know. Ka, as I explained earlier, is the onyomi. The kunyomi would be Hi, and the character for fire is among the first ones we learn in school. Because it's easy and useful to learn the element, of course, but it's also because it's used to say Tuesday. Tuesday in Japanese is kayobi. Kayobi, the day of fire. Which is incidentally followed by suiyobi, the day of water. Suiyobi. Now the kunyomi of en, the second character, is hono. Right after we have shincho. Shin is the body and cho is tall, so together the height of the body. Charizard is only 1.7 meter high, which means I'm taller than him. It's weird because I always thought he would be able to carry me and fly away, but I'm afraid his wings would be too small for both of us. Oh yeah, Japan uses the metric system, so 170 centimeters is about 5'7". Then we have taiju. It's interesting because Tai is another character for the body. Actually, Shin is body in the sense of flesh. Its kunyomi is mi, and it's the one you'll find in sashimi. The kunyomi of Tai is karada, which is a more generic term for a body. So Charizard is shorter but heavier than me. I reiterate, his wings would definitely be too small for both of us. Tokushu nōryoku. In English, they translated it to Pokemon power, but the literal translation would have been special ability. I won't be reading the small text in this video because it's too small. Now, Blastoise is 1.6 meter high, or 5'3". He's about the same height as my mom, I think. 85.5 kilos, so 188 pounds. Slightly more than me. If only the USA could use the metric system, I wouldn't have to repeat myself twice. Oh wow, Venusaur is actually the biggest with 2 meters or 6'7", and weighs 100 kilos, so 220 pounds. I was expecting him to be smaller because he's crawling on his belly. And I was expecting Blastoise to be the heaviest of the three, but it's the opposite. To be honest, I don't know if they respected the dimensions in the video games and the anime because they seemed way bigger to me. Energy Bong. So this is pretty much English, and it's exactly what you'll find in the English version of the card. Energy burn. You have to be really careful to stretch the A in bang, because otherwise it would be understood as energy ban instead of energy burn. Okay, now his attack is pretty epic. I know that there are a lot of stronger Pokemon nowadays, but when the first edition came out, that was the strongest. The name of the attack is Hono no Uzu. Hono no Uzu. Hono no Uzu. As I said, Hono are the flames, and Uzu means a whirlpool, or by extension a vortex. No, right in the middle, is the possessive particle, which could be translated to of. But again, unlike English, it's reversed, so the owner is placed before the possessed object. So here it would be the swirl of flames. In the English version, they translated it to fire spin, which works too. Let's see the attack of the two other Pokemon. Well, it's actually in English. Venusaur's is solar beam, but with a Japanese accent. Sora beam. And Blastoise is hydro pump. Then below that there is nigeru, which means to flee. Then there is the weakness, which in Japanese is read jakuten. And finally there is the resistance, which in Japanese is read teikōryoku. Damage minus 30. Minus 30 hit points from fighting damage. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this original way of learning Japanese. If so, please let me know with a thumbs up, and in the comments, feel free to share it to other Pokemon fans or people who are learning the language, and don't forget to subscribe to support this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon for more videos. Ja ne!